called me with questions that many of you have had, and I've worked with him to put out the emails, anything on there that has to do with nutrition. So I hope those are helping, and in the future, if you have any questions that you think could be good for the whole team and go in those emails, just write to me, let me know, or ask Tom, and then I could add something in there so that it can help, like Tom said, with performance. Because we can sit here as coaches and say run, 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 and show you form and how to do it, but nutrition plays a key role, right? So you're not going to get in your car and drive off if you're on empty, right? Like your car's not going to go anywhere, or you're not at least going to get to where you need to go, right, without refueling. So it's really important to use nutrition as that fuel source to provide your body energy so that you can have that performance that you're out here training for. So what does that really mean? And again, I'm just going to use this time to talk about general sports nutrition for endurance athletes. And everybody is so individual though, but there's some key rules to follow to at least get yourself started. So who had breakfast today? A little bar. Yeah. What time did you have breakfast?
Define breakfast.
What time?
Define breakfast.
About an hour before you started? Right? So the first week Tom had a handout attached to the email that talked about how to calculate your body's energy needs. So if you want your individual calorie needs for before a workout, you can figure it out, and it's in that handout over there. General rule of thumb, about 300 calories before you start an endurance event or a practice like today, right? So some of us went out for 2 hours today, some an hour, half hour, 45 minutes, right? So your body, if you didn't replenish or if you didn't start with any calories, right, you're starting with nothing, and then you're burning approximately 100 calories per mile, right? So you're in a deficit. So your body's not going to have the energy to carry you longer, and then your body's not going to have the energy to repair itself when you're done. So that's why the first part of nutrition comes before you even start your event. So what should I have for breakfast, right? Should I just have some orange juice?
No.
Not if you enjoy having a healthy stomach while you're out there. So not to say that that's wrong, but it's not the ideal fuel source. So what you're looking for with breakfast is something with a complex carbohydrate, and what that looks like is a piece of whole wheat toast, right? Or something that has a little bit of fiber in it, not much fiber, but just enough so that you don't get the blood sugar spike that you would have if you just had that orange juice, okay? So if you just have the orange juice, what's going to happen is your blood sugar is going to spike, which we want our blood sugars to go up because our body uses that blood sugar as that gasoline, right? That's our body's energy source. But if we just have this high spike, then our insulin kicks in and we have this quick drop, right? So it's kind of like, oh, well, I put gas in the car, but there's a leak, right? So now I need to go back to the gas station right away. So by adding something with a little bit of fiber in it, you're not going to get that blood sugar spike, and it's actually going to be this slow, steady release of glucose into the bloodstream over a period of time, so that your body constantly has this little burst of energy. You also want to add a little bit of protein to that, because again, that'll help to have that constant release, okay, a little bit at a time. So that could be a piece of whole wheat toast with a little bit of peanut butter, and you can add a little honey or jam on it for flavor if you want, and a few extra carbs. It could be a banana with peanut butter or almond butter, right? So think about things, and I'm saying the nut butters instead of the nuts because the nuts are just going to take your body a little bit longer to break down, and if you're out there and you have a sensitive stomach, it's just not the easiest thing to start your morning off with. And I'm not just talking about eating before you come out on your Saturday runs, but it's also eating before you go out even just for a quick 30-minute run, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a large amount like the 300 calories right before your long run, but you should have something, right? Again, you're not going to drive your car without gas. You shouldn't expect to have a good workout without fuel in your body. The goos during, is anyone having problem with goos, or are you guys sick of goos? Don't know the flavors that you like? I mean, there's tons of products out there, and every SAG stop I stopped at today, I mean, you guys have such a wide variety of products to try, so try it now. And I'm sure Tom said this when it gets to race day, like nothing new. So try it now, find something that works for you, specifically when you're out here running and there's bathrooms everywhere. So if you try something and it doesn't agree with you, right, you're not left out in the wilderness somewhere. So try all the new ones now. Shock blocks are in there. I know there's been quite a few questions on, well, what about all the high fructose corn syrup? And the reality is, I mean, shock blocks don't have high fructose corn syrup in it, and they actually have a good combination between glucose and sucrose, which are the two optimal fuel sources that your body wants during exercise, right? Because your body's able to release it quickly to the cells that need it. Again, putting gasoline in the car, right? And it's easy to digest. It's just pure carbohydrates when you're out there, some electrolytes. That way it's easy on your stomach, and it's that quick fuel source to your body.
Do the goos and shot blocks have electrolytes, some of them?
Some, but it's not anything to really write home about. That's why it's also important to find your electrolyte source too. Oh, does anyone have, what are, in the little tubes, the new?
Oh.
New, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't like the flavor of Gatorade, you can use some of those. You can use the electrolyte tabs I saw at some of the SAG stops today. But really, I mean, hydration is also important. If anyone's having huge hydration problems, let me know, and I can help you out too, because some people just sweat more, and we can calculate your sweat rate and make sure that we're replenishing your electrolytes and sodium.
How would we recognize if we're having a hydration problem?
So, before there's a hydration problem, if you guys are out there and you lick your top lip and you notice that it's extra salty, and I'm not just talking like, oh, normal snot salt, right? I'm talking like, oh, I think there's probably white crust around, you know, my body. I mean, obviously you're sweating a lot, and a lot of the sodium's getting out and crystallizing. So that's one sign. Fatigue, clamminess, cramping is a huge one. And you shouldn't just start hydrating the day before a long run or a race. It's about 2 to 3 days before where it's really important to kick up the hydration. It can be water. I mean, I really like to emphasize water, but some of us get bored with water. Soda doesn't count, coffee doesn't count, sugary teas don't really count. But caffeine does help before a run though, but if you don't already drink it, don't start it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about adding Crystal Light, the sugar-free, to your water?
I'm totally fine with that. I think that the packets for a bottle this size, right, they say put it in this size bottle. I think it's too concentrated, and you can try doing less, but I mean, that's a preference, and I think that the Crystal Lights are fine. You could also, I mean, summertime's a great time to seriously get a jug or a Brita if you have one, cut up some fresh fruit, put it in there, and flavor your own water. That's another way. I also grab watermelon and puree it in a blender and then add it to my water, and that's also fun. So get creative, hydrate, that's really important. The day of your race, right, it's not, okay, well, we're hydrated, have a nice day, I went for a 12-mile run. No, it's continue to hydrate the day of too. so that you're not sore the next day, right? And get your body back what it's lost. You're dehydrated if you have a headache. You're dehydrated if you're tired after a run. So really keep that in mind. You know, if you go home and it's instantly, I need a nap, and it's not because you got 3 hours of sleep the night before. But, you know, hydration is really important there. If anybody wants to try, since we're still within 30 minutes, this is my favorite recovery drink, and I'm not a salesperson for this company, even though I wish that I got commission off of it. I absolutely love this. It tastes like chocolate milk. The thing that I really like about it is there's just a few added perks to it. There's branched chain amino acids and other type of modulators in here that just help with recovery.
Where do you get that?
I order it online at All Star Health because it's the cheapest one, or you can get it on Amazon, or here you can get it at Santa Barbara Running. So lots of places will carry it. It actually was intended for bicyclists, but a lot of runners use it too. So it's great. What happens in the recovery stage is you just deplete it, right? We're just talking about putting gasoline into your body, right? So you just depleted all of that, right? You went on a road trip, you're at the finish line, you're there. But in order to do anything else with your car, you need to put more gas in it. Same thing with your body. So there's carbohydrates in there to replenish what you lost. And then there's a little bit of protein in there. And you don't want the large amounts of protein right after your race, but you want a little bit in there because it'll start the recovery process for all the little micro tears that you made in your muscles. And so that's a 4-to-1 ratio of carbs to protein. If you have a sensitive stomach, 4-to-1 is great. 3-to-1 to 4-to-1, some people will argue a 3-to-1 ratio is better, but there's no statistical difference out there that says 4-to-1 versus 3-to-1 is better for a ratio. So if you're looking at the recovery items at any fitness store, if you just look at the back, it'll tell you the ratio of 4-to-1 or 3-to-1. And if it doesn't, all you do is take the grams of carbohydrates and compare it to the grams of protein. And make sure it's a 3-to-1 for carbohydrates to protein. And so that should be done within about 30 minutes, or like immediately after you just complete an event. So while you're stretching, while you're giving a nutrition talk, you know, start your process of recovery. And then within an hour, you can start to have a full meal afterwards. And the reason why you want something really light and easy is because there's no blood in your gut when you're done with a race, right? It's all in your peripheries because that's the muscles that you've been using. So once you start putting things back in, it takes a little bit of time for the blood to go back in there so it can pick up the nutrients and spread it through the whole body and help deliver what your body needs. So about an hour after you're done, then you can start with your meal, but within a half hour you really want to get something in.
And I heard chocolate milk is a good.
Chocolate milk's a 4-to-1. So, yeah, and this tastes just like chocolate milk, but it has a little bit of the recovery modulators in it, so. So how's everyone doing? How do you feel afterwards? Tired? Are you energized afterwards? I call this liquid crack too because there's something else in it. I don't know what it is.
How many of you currently use a recovery drink? How many of you are using? Tyler? Tracy?
I just...
Yeah. Our experience has been of those who started using it last season, everyone really came to believe you're a lot less sore the following day. You feel better. The people are no longer going home and taking multi-hour naps on long Saturdays, and so that speaks volumes to me that it really must work.
Any questions, you guys?
There's been some controversy about Gatorade having efficacy regarding the salt-sugar ratio. Some athletes don't even use it anymore because it's causing more harm. For us, does it really matter since we're having that burn anyways?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the controversy with the sodium and potassium ratio in there, It's actually, when you're talking about professional athletes, right, or even any of us that are out here training, everyone's going to have a different sweat ratio. And so if that's something that you're having a struggle with, we can always calculate your sweat ratio and then kind of work out a specific concentration for Gatorade. Some of the problems with Gatorade too at races or events, if they're using the powder to mix it and they're not using the right amount of ratio for water to powder, then it can throw it off a little bit too.
Thank you.
Your favorite recovery foods?
So, bacon. Tom actually just sent out a smoothie recipe on Facebook or on the website.
Yeah.
The quinoa one?
Kale and blueberries. So so when I'm done, the first thing I do is go for this, and then at some point within an hour or two after my run, I'll make that smoothie. I've noticed a big difference adding a lot of foods that have high antioxidant or vitamin C into it, because vitamin C helps with collagen synthesis, so all those little micro tears that you have in your muscles when you're done, I've noticed that just helps with the recovery process even more. So I'll do that along with probably like an egg white vegetable scramble. And in my vegetable scramble, I add curry powder and turmeric and then all just sorts of vegetables, and have a piece of toast and my smoothie. So that's my favorite meal.
Omega-3s, where do you get them and what do they do?
So in that smoothie, the flaxseed will have the omega-3s, but in order for your body to access the omega-3s in a seed, it actually has to be ground. So you can buy the actual flaxseed and then grind them at home, because your body can't break down the fibrous shell, and all the fat is in the center of the seed, and that's where the omega-3s are. The chia seeds have some omega-3s in them. Fish is an excellent source of omega-3, so the fish source of omega-3 is actually different than the plant source of omega-3, and the fish source of omega-3 is actually the omegas that are readily available for your body to use as an anti-inflammatory. The plant-based ones, it actually has to get transformed in your body to the active forms, but that's fine. So if you
grind the chia seeds too to get to like the flax, or can that be absorbed?
It's absorbed more readily in those because of the gelatinous material. It's more of a soluble fiber versus seeded fiber.
Is it better to soak them in advance, chias or flax, both?
Not so much flax. The thing with the chia seeds, the instructions on any bag of chia is to soak them for a period of time. But if you're going to add it into a smoothie, right, it's already in a liquid medium and you're pureeing or blending it, so that starts the process as well. And you guys have a wonderful fish market here, and I'm so jealous and I miss it, so use the fish market.
Are all fishes the same?
No.
What are better? Where do babies come from?
So the fish that tend to have the higher omega-3s are the cold water fattier fish. Black cod is readily caught right out here, so it's really cheap here and absolutely delicious. It does not have a fishy flavor to it at all. So the easiest thing to do with that one, I just squeeze a little bit of lemon, salt, pepper, tiny little sliver of butter, throw it in the oven at 350 or 400 for 20 minutes and it's cooked. Salmon, another great source. Wild has a more concentrated form of omega-3s than farmed. So I really support the wild salmon for that reason. Sardines are good. If anyone makes pasta sauce, instead of salting it, you can melt a few fillets of sardine in the olive oil before you actually put in the tomatoes, and get a little bit of omega-3s that way. It works, and you can't taste it, I know, but...
What other questions do you guys have?
Are there things that we should eat like the day before, like pastas and fish or something like that? Or like what's a good day before a race meal?
So that kind of starts a question about carb loading. And I mean, depending on what angle you look at the research, it says, yay, it helps, and the other part says, no, it doesn't, and then this study says, oh, well, you have to completely deplete all the carbs in your body before you can replete them. I do work with a couple athletes, and I see that having a heavier complex carb meal the night before just gives them a boost of energy. I don't know if it's mental, I don't know if it's a physiological response, but like a whole wheat pasta the night before or some quinoa, getting a good ratio again there with some carbs. A lean source of protein, right, so you're not spiking your blood sugar is really important the day before. So the day before, just every meal that you have, make sure that it's a carb with a protein. So an apple with a handful of nuts, right? Or if you're out there having a cookie, make sure the cookie has nuts in it, you know. Just so that, yeah, or just so that you're not getting these huge spikes so that your body's playing catch up all day.
All right, what about beer?
Thanks, Coach.
Well, are you going to go get me one?
You mean like 7 beers.
Okay, 3 beers versus 6 beers.
So, if you get drunk, it hinders your performance hormones for 14 days.
Oh, wow.
Never peak performance.
Is that like
Drunk, right?
Like, what is that? So, if you get drunk, right, it's going to really hinder your performance hormones, right? If you're waking up with a hangover the next morning, right, you got drunk the night before. So, but if you want to go have a glass the night before, have a glass the night before. I usually don't recommend it, but there's nothing out there that says, you know, it makes a huge performance difference. It is a carbohydrate.
There you have it.
Yeah.
So, and then in recovery, there's actually some antioxidants in beer, but again, everything in moderation, right, versus going and overdoing it. Yeah.
There's a lot of recovery.
Elise has a question now.
I often find that human training participants come in wanting to lose some weight while running their first marathon. And you have thought if people do have that kind of goal?
So, yes, it is possible, but what happens around week 6, who's getting hungry?
Hungry?
Like an all-day hunger, like there's not enough food in the world.
Waking up in the middle of the night? Anybody waking up now in the middle of the night hungry?
That'll come at like week 8.
Yeah.
Don't be alarmed. The trick with the weight loss component is we think that we're out here exercising and we can eat anything and everything in sight. Not true. Yes, you can eat more and you should eat more because you're burning more calories, but it has to do with the calories that you're putting in and the type of food that you're eating. So the quick answer to that is we talked about eating or what you should eat the day before a race, right? And always having carbohydrate with the protein so you're not playing catch up. What that does is it also stabilizes your hunger hormones, right? Because you're not carbohydrate up, and then it crashes, and now you need to play catch up to get just to a normal level. So we overeat, right? You get home and it's everything in the cupboards, everything in the refrigerator, and then it's like, okay, now I'm kind of satisfied, now let's make dinner, right? So you just ate 1,000 calories even before you're going to have dinner. So if you're not playing catch up, you're not going to have that extra drop in blood sugar and say, oh wait, now I need to play catch up and eat those extra calories. So the short answer is, whatever you eat, try and have like a balanced carb with protein, and that'll really help stabilize your hunger. And email me or call me if you have questions. Or ask Tom and he can work on this.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Our intent is to have Sarah back in a couple of weeks after you've digested this, and again, I really believe in the component in nutrition in improving your performance. I've been all over the board of waking up hungry in the middle of the night. I've run marathons on hot dog diets only. I don't recommend it. Seems like a good idea, but I think everyone understands the importance. But as I watch the last couple seasons, and with people who really are paying attention, their performance gets better, and that's the key component. You just can't work any harder at some point, so we've got to fuel our bodies better. All right, can I get the alumni over here who want to participate in the alumni perks today?